Testing, 1, 2. Yep.
You got a light voice. You got a...
Testing, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Okay, do me a favor. Can you test from over there?
Yep. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9. Okay. Come from a diaphragm. Hi. I think it's working. Should I stay here? Are you guys joining? Hi.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out on a cold, wet, and rainy evening. We are very, very excited to host tonight's event. And welcome to the R.I.S.E Demonstration Center. So my name is Catherine Buell. I'm the Executive Director for St. Elizabeth's East. We opened this demonstration center about, I want to say 2 months ago. And this is a series of our opening events, and we've had phenomenal opening events, and we're very excited to host Women in Tech on the Rise tonight. So we have some wonderful speakers that you'll hear from this evening. Raise your hand if this is your first time at Rise, just so we get a sense of who's here. Oh, that's great. Okay, so we hope this will not be your last time at Rise, and this evening's event will actually be posted on YouTube as well as our Rise Washington, D.C. Website. So go to risewashingtondc.com and you will be able to learn more about what we're doing. So with that being said, I will introduce our moderator, Stacey Ferguson. Stacey is a co-founder and CEO of Blogalicious. Stacey, also known online as Justice Fergie, is a digital brand strategist, new media attorney, a veteran blogger, event producer, social media personality, public speaker, freelance writer, and chief curator of the Be Blogalicious community and conferences, celebrating diversity amongst women in social media. Since 2006, Stacey has had her own Blogalicious community to a movement of 8,000 multicultural influencers. Through the Blogalicious B-Link marketing network, Stacey creates and activates influencer outreach and social media marketing campaigns for brands and organizations including Procter & Gamble, McDonald's, Sears, Kmart, and the State Department and more. Just a couple of names I'm sure you guys are familiar with. The cornerstone of the Blogalicious brand is its annual Blogalicious Weekend Conference produced by Stacey and her team since 2009. It's a 3-day educational experiential event featuring high-profile speakers such as Mark Morial of the National Urban League and Soledad O'Brien, and major consumer brands such as Kia Motors, Carnival Cruises, Disney Interactive, General Mills, Johnson & Johnson, and many, many more. Stacey's responsible for 200% growth increase in the conference attendance and sponsorship revenues in 5 short years. As the founder of Justice Fergie Lifestyle Media, she combines media, publishing, consulting, and events to inspire women to live richly with strategies for turning personal passions into viable brands. She regularly consults with both startup and established brands on digital and brand strategy, as well as influencer outreach and social media disclosure guidelines. Stacey is an accomplished public speaker, presenting at conferences and events nationally, from the Essence Women's Conference to South by Southwest, to Blog Her, to the Pennsylvania Conference for Women. She's also served as an advisor for Media Bistro's Summer Social Media Marketing Bootcamp. She was contributing writer for the Babbel, a Disney brand, a vlogger for OMA award-winning She Knows monologues, and is an inaugural cast member of Go Mighty. She's also a proud One Campaign community partner, Shot at Life Fellow, and an advisory board member for We Tech, Fanta Chicks, and iBlog Magazine. Stacey's been featured in a number of various media outlets, just to name a few: The Washington Post, Southern Living, Sirius Radio, Uptown Radio, and Black Enterprise. She's also a wife and a mother of three, and a former attorney. We have some feedback. Okay, a former attorney from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, where she practiced there for 7 years. Stacey received her BS in telecommunications and specializes in radio and television productions from the University of Florida, and her JD from Howard University Law Schools. So please join me in welcoming Stacey Ferguson.
A bloguera, a blogger out in the universe that does not want to be part of this movement, because I think Blogalicious is a movement.
Blogalicious is very, very important because what they did is they were able to get brands to recognize women of color.
These brands are interested in learning from us and engaging with us. It's very inspiring. I really like that Blogalicious is making those opportunities possible because we've been overlooked for far too long.
Small, it's intimate, it's powerful. You don't feel overwhelmed, you don't feel tired. You just get to connect with people directly. And you can tell that everybody that is here is completely passionate about what they're doing.
Blogalicious is a movement. I don't think it can be contained to an event, a website. It is a spiritual experience.
All right, thank you. And thank you for that long introduction. I'm sorry, I didn't know she was going to read the whole bio. As Catherine mentioned, my name's Stacey. My company is Blogalicious, and I'm so thrilled to be here this evening with all of you and our wonderful panel. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Marissa Jennings. She's the CEO of SOCIALgrlz, LLC. It's the first mobile web publishing company for African American girls. Marissa is a visionary leader with the ability to maximize resources, mobilize youth, and exceed organizational goals and objectives. She has extensive experience working for national organizations that strive to improve the lives of girls, including Girls Inc., the Girl Scouts of America, and the BET Foundation. These organizations and companies enhanced her knowledge and ability to understand the needs of girls. In her various positions, she organized youth camps as well as coordinated and spurred initiatives to educate girls on healthy lifestyles. In addition, she developed business acumen in the private and public sector as a project manager and public affairs specialist, where she's handled federal government relations, national media campaigns, and community outreach projects. Additionally, she's demonstrated experience in program and policy management with national nonprofits. As a result, she's become even more committed to fulfilling her passion and life's mission: to improve and empower the lives of African American girls through technology, especially those in poverty and living in urban communities. Ms. Jennings has also served as a publicist for the book Go Tell Michelle, African American Women Write to the New First Lady, and she has expertise and a proven track record in developing financial budgets, fundraising, program development, and implementation, and working successfully through with high-level executives. As a result of her skills at SOCIALgrlz, she's been invited to participate on panel discussions and Twitter panels with the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans, and at technology conferences including South by Southwest this year. I was with her. In addition, articles and news stories about her mobile application have been written by numerous media outlets, including Black Enterprise, Tech Cocktail, NPR. She's a proud graduate of Bennett College for Women and received her nonprofit management executive certificate from Georgetown University. So please help me welcome Marissa. think we've got her video next.
I can't imagine a bloguera, a blogger out in the universe that does not want to be part of this movement, because
they use their phones for everything. African American girls in particular stay connected. Amazingly, there are no social community applications designed for African American girls in the marketplace. Not one. SOCIALgrlz is the first mobile application designed for African American girls ages 13 to 17. A search of the term Black girls returns more negative imagery and stereotypes on 7 of every 10 websites. 2.7 million African American girls spend nearly $100 a month on mobile and web downloads, over $3 billion a year, and can't find a place to hear and be heard in their own voice. SOCIALgrlz is a social community mobile application designed specifically for African American girls to connect with one another, a place where they can interact in a social media framework to exchange ideas, confront topical concerns, and define solutions their way. We need to change the image of African American girls on the web. The ultimate goal of this company is to improve the quality of life for Black girls everywhere. We need your help to raise funding to finish the mobile application development and provide the interconnectivity African American girls everywhere should enjoy. It'll give them the chance to be the change they wish to see. With your generosity, will be the first mobile application to address the needs and give young Black girls a place to empower and encourage themselves. Help today's Black girls, tomorrow's brightest future, find their voice and tell their story. The team at SOCIALgrlz would like to thank you for your support.
All right, our next panelist is Zuhairah Washington. She's a seasoned business professional with over a decade of technology, finance, and product and business development experience in global markets, including New York, London, and Dubai. She currently manages Uber's DC business. Previously, she was the Director of Business Development and reported directly to the CEO and COO of Europe's largest local search and user-generated review website with 17 million uniques in 10 countries and 7 languages. Zuhairah graduated magna cum laude from UCLA and has a JD MBA from Harvard. Please help me welcome her tonight. And last but not least, we have Sibyl Edwards. She's the president of DC Web Women. Sibyl is a designer, strategist, and advocate for women in technology. For the last 8 years, she's created successful digital campaigns for Fortune 500 companies, nonprofit associations, and startups. Working with organizations to help expand their digital presence, she develops strategies to grow their business and build their brands. Her experience includes developing and designing media, such as websites, online ads, and apps for a variety of publishing platforms and social networks. Her clients include the World Bank, Land O'Lakes International Development, Social at Ogilvy, Rosetta Stone, Vocus, and Marriott. As president of DC Web Women, one of the longest running tech nonprofits for women in DC, Sibyl volunteers her time helping to support and advocate for women and girls in internet and tech-related industries. DC Web Women is a professional organization of more than 3,000 professional technologists located in Washington, D.C. It's committed to the support and advocacy of women and girls in technology by providing a community in which they can develop and promote their leadership, technical and professional skills. So please help me welcome Sibyl Edwards. All right, as you can see, we have an illustrious panel, and we're going to have a really great conversation. So I thought after we got through reading the formal bios, we could go down the line, and you could share with the guests here tonight a little bit about your story, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your path to get there. So would you like to start, Marissa?
Or not? Okay, there it is. Okay, so my name is Marissa Jennings, CEO of SOCIALgrlz, the first mobile app designed for African American girls ages 13 to 17. SOCIALgrlz was actually my senior college project at Bennett College for Women. I majored in communications and was challenged to create a press kit for a company But because I am a child that used to sing book reports and I used to think outside of the box, I decided to create my own company, and I actually called it the Essence Teen Magazine. And from there, created this huge press kit and huge project that eventually turned into my company. My content person, Natalie Jordan, is actually the same individual that edited that paper and that document at Bennett and now works with me for SOCIALgrlz and actually helps with all the content that we run on the site today. I also took this senior college project from Bennett and went to Georgetown and took the senior college project and turned it into my capstone. From there, my COO, which is actually my mentor from high school. She now works with us as well. She took my capstone from Georgetown and turned it into a business plan. So when you ask for the storyline of how SOCIALgrlz started, it started in a college dorm room and eventually became a working educational document that traveled through a historically black college, a prestigious Ivy League school, and then a business school. So that's kind of the story of SOCIALgrlz. And yeah, I think that's it.
That was great. Thank you. Zuhairah?
Hi, my name is Zuhairah, or Z.
Sorry, I've been mispronouncing.
No problem. It's not a common name. So, I was born in Newark, New Jersey, but was raised in Los Angeles, California. And first, just want to say thanks to Catherine and the team here for inviting me. I know this has been a birth of love and effort in getting this space created, so I'm actually really excited to be here today and to be just visiting again. So thank you for having me. As I said, I was born in Newark, New Jersey, raised in Los Angeles, California. My cousins used to always make fun of my Valley girl, quote unquote, accent because I grew up on the West Coast but always spent summers on the East Coast. I went to UCLA undergrad. I majored in political science and public policy. And my first time coming to the district was actually as an intern for Maxine Waters as a Congressional Black Caucus Fellow. And I fell in love with the district at that time. It was the summer, it was great. I mean, any of you know summer in the city, right? In your early 20s, there's nothing kind of better. So really had an affinity for DC after that point. Graduated, was interested in public policy, but I didn't want to necessarily go straight into politics. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did a rotational leadership development program in New York, and it allowed me to try different sectors. So I spent some time in business, I spent some time in government, I spent some time in media, and that was really great because it opened a lot of doors for me. And during that time, I also applied to graduate school and was fortunate enough to get into to Harvard. And so took that opportunity, spent some summers again trying to figure out exactly where in this space between public and private I wanted to play, and ultimately graduated and joined a private equity company out in San Francisco called McFarland Partners, which is actually the largest African-American owned real estate private equity company. Was mentored by the CEO there, Victor McFarland, and helped him grow his business out to DC and beyond. Long story short, the real estate market kind of took a turn for the not better, we'll just say. And my husband, who's actually here, Mark, was ready to go to business school. And so we decided we'd leave the country. And he went to London, and I said, I'm coming with you. And I went there and made the transition into the tech space, something that I'd always wanted to do, but that was kind of the break that I needed to make the formal transition. And now, and before that, I was an entrepreneur. And now I'm at Uber. So that's a lot. I'll shut up now.
That's very good. Cool. My journey to tech was a winding one. I grew up, I started drawing when I was like 2 or 3, and I've always been a very creative, artistic child. Luckily, I had parents who encouraged it, maybe encouraged it a little too much. And I ended up going to art school, and I went, through a formalized art college where I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting. So you see, you could do a lot with a degree in painting. At the time I thought I could do something with it, but so needless to say, graduation, I ended up doing a lot of different things and working in a lot of different fields. And after sort of wandering for a while, I ended up, there's this cool thing that just sort of hit around the late 90s called the internet. And I was just absolutely fascinated by it. And this was like back in the day of GeoCities. I don't know if any of you remember GeoCity pages. And just the idea of sort of customizing and creating your own page. And, I was playing around with my own GeoCities page. And I thought I was like, I just thought I was just totally a badass. And so I decided, I like this stuff. Let me go to school to learn how to do it formally. And at the time, there were no formalized, digital design programs. There was nothing. However, the local community colleges, sensing, this being the area where there's a lot of, defense contracting, a lot of tech, that kind of thing, Nova had a class on just basic HTML. So I took the class, aced it, and then I decided I found a school back in the Southwest where my family is from, and to just learn more about tech and learn more about design for the web. So I've been doing web now for 8 years, going on a little over. And I've seen sort of the incarnation of, the late 90s sort of web pages and design to what we see now with app development and mobile. And it's just amazing. And social media. I mean, if you had asked me in 2002 about Facebook or Twitter, I would have been like, what? What's that? How does that work? You're from outer space. I don't know what you're talking about. And now it's completely transformed our lives. So I've been I just been designing for tech for different companies. And in that as part of that journey, I got a chance and opportunity to start volunteering for an organization called DC Web Women. DC Web Women will be 20 years old next year. They started in the mid-90s. We are one of the oldest and probably the largest tech women's organization in the DC metro area. We have close to 3,000 women and men members. And we have members who do everything from web design, app development, blogging, internet marketing, you name it. If it's web related, we're the organization for you. We're sort of like, this large portal that everyone kind of joins. And I volunteered for different roles off and on for years. And then in 2010, I became president. And it's just been an amazing journey, just seeing how tech has evolved, how DC Web Women has evolved, how women's role in tech has evolved. And I'm a big advocate for that, as well as, getting girls into tech, at a young age. So, I'm still learning.
We all are.
Yep.
But I think it's so great to hear everybody's individual stories, because one of the points we were talking about before tonight was that you don't necessarily have to be a tech startup or be a coder or a developer to be, in the tech field. And as Sibyl just mentioned, everyone is interfacing with tech every day just by virtue of your smartphone, being on your social networks. And if you have a business in today's day and age, right, it behooves you to be just a little bit tech savvy. Even if you may not know how to code HTML, that's okay. But you at least need to be able to get by and to be able to communicate and network and feel at home in different business environments. That's only going to help you. Whether you sew clothes for a living or are a banker, you're going to need to know those sorts of terms and the nuances of the tech field. So I really also love that. With the exception of Marissa, you were very focused in college. A lot of us
too much more focused than me.
Yeah, like she was like, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't think I could use any paper in college for anything right now." But with the exception of Marissa, the rest of us did take a circuitous route into tech, and I think that's very cool, and I think that's indicative probably of a lot of people who are in tech now. I majored in journalism and communications undergrad. I wanted to be a television producer and produce award shows, and I still might one day. But then, much like you with your painting degree, when it got time for me to graduate, I was like, I'm not gonna go hold somebody's microphone for $17,000. It's not happening. So I kind of said, well, what am I gonna do next? And I went to law school, and then I ended up practicing law, but while in law school, there was this class that nobody had heard of before. It was brand new, and it was called Internet Law. And this was in 1999, right? Just at the very beginning. And I was like, that sounds cool, I'll take it. I have an AOL account, right? So I took Internet Law, and I loved it. And it was so, imagine like rudimentary, like boring, the first iterations of Internet Law. And they were talking about cookies and stuff that nobody knew what it even meant. And I was just eating it up. And so from there, I kind of got bitten by the tech bug. And then after that, I was like, okay, I want to do entertainment law, but I kept finding myself coming back to IP and tech-related topics, and that kind of drove my legal career. In the meantime, I got married, had a family, had kids, and had two friends that went to law school with me, and we all had kids around the same time. And we found ourselves always talking about, what are we going to do to help them go to sleep at night? What kind of diapers do you buy? All of the boring mom stuff. And we were each at our law jobs emailing each other all day, right? Like, the baby won't sleep. So what do I do? Like, I'm always late to work. They're going to fire me. Like, all of those things. And then one day I found this thing online called a blog. And it was written by these other three women, and they were talking about being moms. And I'm like, well, we could do that because we already do that. So we started a blog called Mama Law. And it was a group blog, and we had no idea what we were doing. But every day, we just kind of threw up a story about what happened that morning or that day, or what we were thinking about or being challenged with on the blog. And before we realized it, and this was like right when Google had launched Blogspot, which was their free blogging platform, before it had all of the sexy, cool themes they have now. It was very basic. And we put up our blog, and people started reading it. And we were like, oh, crap, now what? And then we realized we kind of were enjoying blogging more than practicing law. And we would just live to read our comments and to, yeah. And this is the days when people commented. They don't really do that anymore. And this was before Facebook and before Twitter, so it was really just a blog, right? And that's how you form relationships and develop community. But we realized, we said, hey, there must be other women of color out there blogging like us. How can we find them? It's not obvious where they are right now. We didn't know about DC Web Women. And so we decided to start a community and a conference called Blogalicious. And that was 6 years ago, and that's how Blogalicious began. But it really wasn't intentional, but it was just looking for that opportunity. So to that end, I wanted to get thoughts from you all on what kinds of opportunities do you see for women, especially women of color, in tech right now. There's a lot of chatter about there being a lot of funding available, a lot of different kinds of positions available. What are your thoughts on those opportunities? Are they really as tangible as people make it out to be? Just would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyone want to grab it?
There are definitely a lot of opportunities. It just sort of depends on where your heart is and what direction you want to go, depending on if you want to go work for someone, if you want to work for yourself. I would say that now is a very rich time if you wanted to start your own business and you want to create your own startup. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a tech startup in the sense of, something that's like, a tech a tech-focused product, but it could be tech-related, especially since so many people, particularly people of color, we're one of the fastest adopters of technology. Around the world, the majority of most people, they don't have desktop computers. They do everything on their mobile phones. So right now, if you wanted to start your own business and create something that was really, mobile app related, right now is a great time to do that. Aside from that, there are also other opportunities as well. If you were, you don't have to be a developer either. I think a lot of people think if you wanted to create your own startup that you have to be a developer. You don't. You can find people to build stuff for you. If you're sort of a business-minded person and you sort of have you have a good idea, you can, come together and you can create your own business. You can find a partner. If you're a person who's like, oh, I don't want to start my own business, but you can go work for a startup and you can either do, marketing, you can be a CMO, COO. You can go work for, since this is DC, there's a lot of amazing nonprofits, and they're always looking for fantastic technologists, whether you want to do social media marketing or design or pretty much any job now. I'll be brutally honest with you, pretty much everything's tech related. I don't really see many people nowadays going somewhere that doesn't have a good part of your job has a tech component to it. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of opportunities. It just is really where you want to go. It's really just where you want to go, and the kind of things that interest you.
And in terms of developing your skills to get a tech position or to start a tech startup, what would you recommend people do if that's something of interest to them? So how can they get that learning, find those resources, find that developer maybe that they can trust with their idea and concept? Do either of you guys have thoughts on that?
Well, I have several thoughts about that since I am a small tech startup and I am not a coder. We do have a tech solution, and I always joke with our tech solution company, Clearly Innovative, based out of DC. He is the hacker and I am the hustler. And when we go out to speak to the communities about Social Girls and what we're doing, and even having a conversation with Sibyl a couple months ago, we had this conversation explaining that I am in tech, and although I am in tech, I'm not a developer, but I have a great idea. And I think that we are solving the problems to these young ladies through technology. And with that, Social Girls is clearly a passion project of mine, but also it took me a long time to find to find our tech solution, Clearly Innovative, to find individuals that were going to support and help our mission and our passion and our project. I think that you have to do a lot of research. For me, in regards to Social Girls, I had the opportunity to meet my virtual mentor, Kimberly Bryant from Black Girls Code. She was here in DC, and she actually had a call for all the African-American developers, anyone that was in tech. She had a welcome kind of meeting, and this was a great opportunity for me to be in a room full of developers that looked like me and had the skills that I needed, and I ended up finding our tech solution, Clearly Innovative, there in that room. So I think you have to kind of seek the opportunities. That was a question earlier that you were saying, what are the opportunities available? You have to begin to research and try to find out where those opportunities are. And I wanted to kind of like backtrack just a little bit. The NAACP partnered with the National Women Law Center, and they just came out with a report about unlocking the opportunities for African American girls. And of course, there was a huge section on STEM. And in that area, under the study, they talked about how the young ladies needed to see actually women and individuals in that field. And so I think when we talk about opportunities, we need to make sure that our young girls and boys actually see that STEM is a realistic thing for them. So I think that's where the opportunity begins with these kids seeing individuals.
So I want to go back to your point about going to these events, seeking out the opportunity. So I imagine if I'm not a tech person, I just have an idea and I think it's great and I want to find somebody to help me bring it to life. I'm going to go into this room with these tech folks. What am I going to say to them? You know, was that intimidating? I hear or you read everywhere that for your startup, you need 3 people, right? You need your co-founder, you need your CMO, you need your developer. Mm-hmm. Have you all found that to be true in your travels?
I can speak to that,
yeah,
and also
just
raise another point about the opportunity to answer your question succinctly. I think it's absolutely, there's I think probably no better time than now to be in the space. I think particularly if you're a person of color, because the issue is so front and center. People are looking for talent. So if you are talented, if you have passion, drive, determination, there's no better time than now. I think one of the things, though, that creates, though, with opportunity is just more choice. And so I think to the extent you can get clarity within yourself as to what you're passionate about, what your strengths are, I'm a big believer in playing to your strengths. There are so many opportunities that it's often easy, at least I'll say personally, they like just do so many things at once. So I think getting really clear, like if you are not a person who, you know, generally gravitates towards like languages or, you know, arts or those type of things, then maybe your role in the company isn't to be the developer. And so maybe you don't take, you know, $10,000 out of your bank account and go to school to learn how to do it, but you really focus on being design focused. That doesn't mean that you don't need to be literate to some extent in what you're doing, but I believe strongly in play to your strengths. And to your point about building a team, before Uber, I actually ran a company, and it was really, really hard to build a team. It is really hard. Like, starting a company, everybody, you know, it's great to be founder, CEO, be your own boss and all that. It is hard work.
It sounds glamorous.
I mean, it is 24/7 all the time. You are the business. And, you know, all the glamour, you pay for that equally or 10 times over in the work that you're doing. And so I think in building a team, if you are coming with an idea, particularly if you're trying to pitch an idea to someone who has a skill set that's in rare demand, like or a rare supply, like the biggest thing that you can do to get that idea implemented is work on it yourself day in and day out and demonstrate that there's something real there. Like, don't wait for someone else to make your idea a reality. And I actually think that's a mistake that I probably made, is waiting too long to actually bring the idea to fruition or trying to convince someone else to believe in my idea. Like, just do it, right? Like, just take whatever steps you can to get it done. If it's like mocking it up in PowerPoint and doing like a quick simulation of it so you can sell it to somebody, like, do whatever you can. And you know, if you have the fortune of meeting someone like you did, who can help you actually actualize that idea, that vision, they're going to be even more impressed that you did something while you were waiting to find that perfect team.
I think that's such a great point.
It is.
Having a case study of some kind, right, or proof of concept, really nowadays that's all investors really want. You don't even have to have been in business for many years, or have a full team. They just want to know that you're able to take an idea, develop it, and execute on it. And so I just read an article, I think it was on, you know, Forbes or something. There's this company, and it's literally called thiscoolstartup.com, because they don't have a name yet, they don't have a product yet, or they don't have a service yet. All they have is a really passionate CEO who went into a panel of investors, pitched them on what I don't know, and got $2 million just based off of his passion and idea.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
I'll be honest
with
you.
I also
That's not the norm.
That's an anomaly. And that's a journalist who's writing a story.
And I have a comment about that, but continue.
I believe you. I mean, yes, definitely not the norm. However, that same startup contacted Blogalicious to be a sponsor. And so I was like, and she was telling me, I'm like, this is really real. Like, so it wasn't made up. So I just say that to say, of course, there's both extremes. But don't feel like you have to build out the whole team, you know, borrow $100,000 from your mom and go out and start this thing. You can take a little bit of an idea, mock it up. There's so many websites out there. There's one I just saw the other day called quickmvp.com. You can sign up for it. It's not expensive at all. And what it allows you to do is put up your idea and see if anybody's interested. And so it can literally look like a shopping cart. So let's say you say, oh, I'm going to sell, you know, really great phone cases. You put it up there. When someone goes to buy it, it says, coming soon if you really like this, join our mailing list. And then you're allowed to keep it up for like, you know, a month period, a week period, and you're able to gather information and interest to see if there really is a demand for what you're thinking about doing without having done it. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for things like that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about positioning yourself, right? We hear talk about branding all the time. It's probably one of the most overused terms of 2014. I'm guilty of it too. But when you're going into a room to meet someone, whether it's on behalf of your organization or your business, how do you position your company? Do you call it a tech company? Do you feel like it's important that you let people know that there are men involved, that they feel like you're more trustworthy, perhaps? Or someone who's not a minority involved, that can be another component. Talk to me a little bit about the real world considerations when you're going out there representing your business.
Well, I know for Social Girls, can we talk for a second?
Keep it real.
We're going to keep it very, very real. For Social Girls, so my team consists of, I spoke of them earlier, individuals earlier. One used to be, or still is, my mentor, but she's our COO of our company. Then I have my content coordinator, who I went to college with, who edited my paper. We started building our team together, and as we kept moving forward and trying to figure out how to position Social Girls, I had to learn first, what was I going to call myself? Am I going to be Social Girls, the first mobile app for Black girls? Am I going to be Social Girls, the first mobile app for colored girls, or for girls of color? Social Girls, first mobile app for girls. And of course, everyone asked the question, why African American, why girls of color? And of course, I had the answers for them, but again, I had to figure out what was going to be the best way to describe our company to individuals. And our team, I had the opportunity to speak to some advisors, and I was advised that maybe I should not be the CEO of my company, and that my COO, she received her business degree and had several leadership positions. They said, well, why don't you have her be the CEO of your company, because maybe VCs and other people will pay more attention to your company and invest in this company or this tech startup. And for me, it kind of threw me off, because I'm just learning this. I did not know I was going to be an entrepreneur or a CEO of a company. And so again, I had to go back, and I wrestled with that, talked with my mother and family, and tried to figure out, how am I going to present my company, make sure that I'm being authentic to myself and to the users, and then make sure that I am putting my best foot forward. So of course, I think that when we travel down this path of how do you want to position yourself, I think you have to research, and then also just stay true to who you really are, because for me, that was a huge challenge for me, and as a CEO of SOCIALgrlz and being the first mobile app.
That's great. I have a similar experience. So for Blogalicious, and maybe it's because of my background, I was laughing when you were talking about you were being teased for being a Valley girl. I'm Canadian, so I got even worse when I moved
and
here.
I'm from LA.
My accent was horrible. But because of that, I think, I grew up in a very multicultural place. I'm like, I think Canada's more of a melting pot than here. So when I started Blogalicious, my personal mission was always to have a multicultural community. That was very important to me. And so many people wanted, and still want to, make it only African American or only Latina. And I'm very adamant, and it's a daily intentional work of keeping it multicultural, even amongst my team, because people fall into what they know unconsciously, and I always have to be on mission, right? Like, oh, I see you presented a list of speakers for this panel. Everyone's Black. That can't happen, right? Everyone's Asian. That can't happen. I'm always in that, and then it has. It impacts me when it comes to different things such as budgets and pitching, right? Because in the marketing industry, things are very segmented by demographic. So am I going after African American budget, or am I going after diverse segments budget, or am I going after mainstream budget, and all of those keywords that all boil down to Black, white, Asian, Latina. Right? And so, but I found that it's been both a challenge, but also my blessing that I'm able to keep that my niche, and I'm very clear. So when I go into a room, I'm very clear about that, and I think the fact that it's multicultural makes it stand out, if that makes sense. So I'm with you on that 100%. Marissa, you spoke a lot about your mentors, and I wanted to hear from the other two ladies if you all have had mentors along the way, or people who have advised you in your career journey, whether personally or professionally, and how that's helped you get to where you are now.
Yes, it's very interesting. My mentors have been pretty. I had a couple of supervisors that sort of helped show me the more business side of tech and of design. But a lot of times I find I've had to mentor myself because there weren't any women in my industry that I was aware of at the time that could mentor me, and definitely no women of color.
Right.
And so it was sort of a combination of multiple people who mentored me in different areas and a lot of self-mentoring, which is one of the reasons why now I go out of my way to mentor young and older women and men, whatever it is. I don't care who you are, because I didn't have that.
Right.
And so I think mentoring is absolutely critical to people in their development, in their careers, or if you're starting a business. You need to have somebody you can go to and talk about things, especially as things are new to you, or when you encounter certain types of topics or issues, and you're like, I've never dealt with this before. Let me call so-and-so up and see if they've dealt with this before, and then you can kind of talk it through and gain from their experience. I just think that's absolutely valuable.
Yeah, I would agree. Zuhairah?
That resonates a lot with me. I guess I don't think about, when I think mentor, I think like a formal match, and I think all of my mentors have been organic. And that's a struggle that I face, because I like doing events like this because I can talk to people, and if something resonates with you, you can take it with you, and you have that connection. But I feel like I haven't had many like proper mentors. I've had people that I've sought out for relationships based on things that I either admired about their path, or things that I thought I could learn, or just interest. And then most of my problems I just dump on my husband.
I always tell my husband there should be like a support group, right, for husbands of like women in business, because
we have an in-house psych. So.
Perfect. But thank you for making that distinction between having a formal mentor and kind of having organic one. I think I took that for granted when I asked the question. Mine have all been organic, and I've sought them out because exactly what you said. There was no one just standing around who looked like me, ready to help me. And interestingly enough, today most of my mentors don't look like me, and they could potentially be competitors. But because we're all in this same small, weird space of like content marketing and influencer marketing that's very niche, there's no precedent, right? And there's no one else to talk to about it. So we talk to each other about it. So if I have a proposal, I don't know how much to charge, I'll pick up the phone and I'll text the CEO of Blogger, and she'll tell me, right? Even though one day we could potentially be competing for the same business. We have that relationship, which is great.
That's great.
All right, so I wanted to take time, if you guys don't mind, to open it up for questions, because I think if we can get to your questions, you'll go away with some very concrete takeaways that can be helpful for you. So anyone want to start? Yes.
This is one for Zuhairah. What is it like going
Thanks,
from
guys.
a small firm that you're running your own firm to running an enterprise like Uber, and what are the differences between the two of those tech companies?
That's a great question. I will say that I don't work any less like hard. Like, it's funny, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I work just as hard as I did for myself as I do now. And it's kind of nonstop. I think one of the big challenges is when you are managing a small team, a lot of what you're doing is managing yourself. And so you're very much, setting roadmaps and doing all these things so you can hit a milestone yourself, whereas now I have a team of 30 plus, and I have to relinquish, quite frankly, some of that management and delegate and trust, right? And communicate vision, like priorities, and make sure I have the right people in place. And so I think a lot of the like big organizational management, team building, those type of things are an added layer of what I do, whereas before it was much more maybe one-on-one interpersonal kind of things. I think also, with the company, with the size and scope of Uber, the things that you do, like you make a mistake when you're working with your own startup, it's like, oh, okay, no one saw that. I'll, it's okay.
Shove it under the rug.
I'll redeploy that blog or change that edit. Here, the stakes are much higher, right? So everything is looked over by, tons of people, and you just have to be on point, even more so, I think. Also how, you represent yourself. I have a younger looking face, and so I've often walked into meetings where people, it's funny, like I'll interview people and people will ask me a couple times, so you run this? Like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Like they have the double, take on that. So it's an interesting, I think, dynamic. And to the point of diversity, it's interesting because I want to say like we have a very diverse team. But when you start thinking through a lens of like, Black women or, start counting and things like that, obviously this room looks a lot different than most, big companies. Let's just leave it at that. And so for me, it's always great to be in this type of environment and talk more, shop with you guys and hopefully be a resource as you think about growing your business.
My question is real short and sweet. It's, I think my daughter has a blog, so I'm asking for her. She has the content down, we have the look, we have everything. So our next step is, how do you obtain advertising?
That's a good question.
That's
a good question. That might be a better question for you.
I was about to say, yeah, because I haven't conquered that quite yet.
So, first you should come to Blogalicious.
Right.
Duh.
There you go. There you go.
Second, I would ask her what her goal is, right? People think that advertising is kind of like the yellow brick road. Nowadays, much like after the internet bubble burst, ads are not as lucrative as they once were. So just think about your own personal web behavior. Do you click on ads anymore?
No. If it's something else.
Yeah. If it's something that's targeted, maybe. But you don't click on them like we used to, right? They used to be pop-ups and banners, and now we just we don't even see them, right? We focus on our content. I'd say that to say there are other options other than ads. So depending on her traffic, she could join an ad network, and that will make it easier for her to obtain advertisers. So there's, depending on her content, there's beauty networks, there's entertainment blogger networks, parenting blogger networks. There's so many different networks that she could join, and they'll automatically deliver advertising to her site, and she'll receive commissions based on views or clicks, depending on what the program is. But there are other avenues that I always like to promote. She can do sponsored content. So if she's really great at video, let's say, she could do videos for a brand, and they'll pay her to do that because she has an audience and expertise. If she's really strong on Instagram, she could do an Instagram campaign for a brand, and they'll pay her for that. Twitter, any platform, there is a brand that is paying for a campaign to be run on that platform. Pinterest is big right now, too. Also, she could be a brand ambassador for different campaigns. So nowadays, rarely a month goes by where I don't open a magazine, any magazine, right, Michelle? And we see one of our blogger friends. It's crazy. And probably people who don't blog don't know, but like the Pantene ads, you're like, that's Aaliyah, right? But Pantene goes to her because she's got an audience who respects that she writes about her hair. So if she has that kind of influence on her blog, she could definitely become a spokesperson for those brands in different areas. So I could go on and on. But those are some examples that she might want to think about beyond traditional ads. Sure.
I do blogging too. I just want to add something that you didn't, too, which is really key for people just starting who may not have the traffic, who may not have that big, those numbers that's going to have a Pantene come to them, is affiliate ads. And what affiliate ads are essentially is someone has a product, a lot of people have products, and if you use it already, if you're a beauty blogger or whatever, you use it, and you can do a blog post about that product and include the affiliate link. So people are more likely to buy something if they know that they trust you, you do it, you see it, you say, I use this product, and look how shiny my hair is, and you have a link, and they click it. So every person who buys it, you get a percentage. So you get like I have an affiliate ad on my blog. I don't know who, but it was like some little Gucci suit. Somebody came over there and bought a little Gucci suit for his son. That was like $25, for just one suit. I don't know, like they're bald or whatever. So I don't dress in Gucci suit, but she has. So that way, it's the niche, and she's new, and she doesn't have those numbers. That's a good way of getting money quickly for getting
Yeah, that's a great point. And she can set up for free easily on Amazon.com is a great one. Reward Style, if she's a style blogger, Shop Style. Share a Sale is the big one. If she goes to Share a Sale, they'll have every single brand on there that she can hook up with. Thanks, Jennifer. Yes.
Building on the question about how to make money for your blog, I got the advice from someone very talented right here, Stacey, that, you know, it's about building the relationship, you know, and sometimes we think so much about the money that we don't think about building the relationship.
Right.
When I started my blog, I just focused on things that I really liked in building relationships, and then with the relationship came the money without me having to ask. They approached me. So I think it's important to think about that too.
That's my number one piece of advice. So if she likes something, tell her to write about it. And then reach out to them and say, hey, I really liked your whatever, and I wrote about it. Check out my link. And then they'll keep her top of mind.
Thank you. Hi, I'm not a blogger. I'm actually in the process of starting a business that closes the exposure gap in technology. And I'm trying to see how I can actually monetize that at some point. I'm having a hard time even with that concept because I'm very passionate about that, and I don't really think that it should be, you know, we should charge or it should be a free sort of, you know, program, but it does have to run. So I do need some sort of input on how do we even begin to do that. I mean, I have several people that want to help, but I'm not really sure what I should be asking for.
Is it a nonprofit or is it?
It's me for now.
No, but I'm saying, are you designing it to be a nonprofit to go and help people in the community?
We're going to go to K through 12 plus, and we're going to have programs that close that exposure gap. So people who come in from Google, IBM, Sony, Facebook, whatever's connected to technology, whatever industry.
So like a speaker series?
Well, we want to have it
or
involved. We want them to have hackathons. So kids and hackathons.
So
we're going to start off with fashion shows as bait. So anything dealing with, and then we're going to, in the summer, we'll have a summer program. So it starts off with just the bait, me going to each school, and then, you know, hackathons throughout, and then in the summer, they have a program, which they learn to code and they learn the sort of hardcore.
It sounds like you're trying to create a nonprofit.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say,
yes.
Yeah.
But I want them to.
But you can, nonprofits, see, here's the thing a lot of people don't understand. Nonprofits don't mean that you run on a shoestring budget necessarily. Now, a lot of them do, and DC Web Woman, we're lean and mean. Like, when it usually comes in, like, I don't get paid. I don't get paid. And, you know, people think, oh, you know, you're throwing these events, you're bringing in thousands of dollars. You guys must be going to Hawaii for retreats and doing whatever, and sitting with Deepak Chopra and Oprah. No, none of that stuff is happening. That said, all nonprofits are still corporations. And you still have to have revenue because you have operational expenses.
Mm-hmm. So what do I ask for? I have Sony, IBM, Google. They want to help me. I've spoken to some people.
Right there, that's your monetization.
Yeah. What do you need? Write down what you need, right? Do you need a venue to have the hackathon? Do you need food for the hackathon? Do you need flyers for advertising?
Right,
do you need a website?
Right,
yep.
Create the wish list.
You got it. Just figure out what your operational expense. Oh, Michelle, right? You need to talk to that lady right there. Michelle, tell everyone who you are.
I'm Michelle Fox. I run a nonprofit called Code for Progress. And I'd love to chat with you a little bit about your idea. One of the things that I suggest to nonprofits and entrepreneurs alike with amazing ideas is don't reinvent the wheel. So identify if there's already someone out there who's doing what you want to do and figure out if you can partner together, you know, because between your connections and someone else's experience, you might be able to cut out a lot of work, you know, and do something that's really powerful. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit more afterwards.
I do want to say one thing, just in general, just with even the idea with the blogging and with your idea with hackathons and working with kids. If you're coming up with an idea either for a blog or a startup or whatever, it's very important to understand what it is exactly what you're doing. Because I've consulted with startups before, and they've come to me with some gobbledygook, this pie in the sky idea, and that's where it starts. It has to start in the sky, but at some point you kind of have to drill down a little bit and sort of finesse and clarify what your goals and your mission is. You also have to be clear on your messaging.
Right.
Because if you want your product or service to say one thing, and yet the physical product itself does another, that sends too many messages, and that's why I think a lot of startups fail, because they're not clear.
Right. Or they change with the
Yes.
wind, depending on what's happening. I wanted you to add your doer, donor, door opener.
Oh, the 3D
concept,
vision.
'cause I think that would be helpful for this young lady here who asked the question.
So earlier this year, I participated with Stacey at South by Southwest, and when talking with my team, I decided, like, what are the things that I need to become, for Social Girls to become successful? And so kept toying with the idea, and so finally came up with Social Girls has a 3D vision. 3D vision: doers, donors, and door openers. Those are the three things that will help Social Girls go from here and elevate to here. So if you identify those doers, donors, and door openers, then you will have the opportunity to just really flourish with your idea and with your concept. And I've been running with that since March.
I like that. So like if you have, a Microsoft or somebody, maybe they're a donor, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you meet someone like Michelle, maybe she's a door opener for you, But you have to be clear first on what your mission is.
Right.
So then you can make the ask of the right person.
Right.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, any other questions? So I'd like to bring up Michelle Fox from the Code for Progress to close us out. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for being here. It was really great. It's so nice to be in a room with people of color. So much of what we do, and as y'all have experienced, is with straight white men, and it can be really soul-sucking. So I love straight I love straight white men too, but I think that having community and relationships with other people who are doing the work and really have a heart for it for all the right reasons is so important, and really it just is rejuvenating. Shameless pitch, we, Code for Progress has moved our operations to the R.I.S.E Center. Oh, we're really excited to be here. As you can tell, so many of you are here for the first time. It's a really beautiful space, and there are a lot of opportunities for programming here. So if one of the issues that startups often face is that costs of overhead are prohibitive. So you can apply to run programming here. And we are currently doing an open community night every Thursday from 6 to 9. And that is for anyone who is in tech, wants to be in tech, wishes they were in tech, or just wants to learn a little bit more about what's happening in tech in DC. And that is for women and people of color to come out and, you bring your computer and work on projects. We have computers there downstairs that you can use, and we do workshops every week. So you can come and learn something new or teach something if you have something that you'd like to share. And Sibyl and DC Web Women is a huge part of that network. So there are a lot of opportunities to get connected in DC around tech, and as many of you probably know, but I really recommend, connecting, networking if you aren't already, joining DC Web Women, coming and checking out the Hack Night, and getting plugged in, because the tech community here in DC is, as far as I've experienced, not backbiting and cutthroat the way that it is in other places, and we really, especially the smaller subset of people of color and women of color, we really want to help each other succeed. So, so let's do it.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks to the R.I.S.E Center for having us. Have a good night.
Really nice meeting you, ladies.
Yeah, it's great meeting you as well. Let me give you my card.
Please keep in touch.
Yes.